about the first 100 days.
Chuck Schumer joins us.
Yeah, it's so great to have you here.
Great to be back in New York.
And we thank you for watching us. Okay, I'm sorry. I was going to ask about the first 100 days.
Yeah, do it.
I've got to talk first.
Yeah.
The Attorney General.
What's going on?
Sends out a letter basically attacking the NYPD, saying that they are, quote, soft on crime. Has he never been to New York?
We are the lowest of the 25 biggest cities in crime.
But they say gang crime is out of control.
It's not. My daughters, you know, they're young adults, but they ride the subway at 4 a.m. and I'm perfectly happy about it. We are a safe city. And by the way, New York has grown from 7 million people in 1990 to 8.5 million today, the largest of any city, because crime went down.
Yeah.
Mothers from Denver and Dallas were not sending their daughters and sons to New York in 1990. Now they're happy to do it.
It's funny because there's this talk about fake news. That quote we just put up there is fake news coming from the Attorney General. And
saying the NYPD is soft on crime.
And the president has done this before about murder rates.
Here's the greatest thing I worry about this country. We're no longer fact-based.
Right.
The Founding Fathers created a country based on fact.
And history.
Then we debated the facts. We debated them at the Constitutional Convention. Excuse me. We debate them in town halls throughout America. We were supposed to debate them in the legislature.
Right.
Yep.
We don't have a fact base. If, say, Breitbart News and the New York Times are regarded with equal credibility, you worry about this democracy.
Or our president or attorney general can spew out facts that are not true.
No argument
That
with
is
me.
a threat to democracy.
It is very unfortunate.
But I'll be happy to ride the subway at 4 a.m. with Jeff Sessions.
Oh, he might be a little afraid to do that.
100 days. How's the president doing?
Well, you know, we give him failing grades. When he ran as a populist against, as you well pointed out, the Democratic and Republican establishments to help working people. Now, promise after promise to working people has been broken. Clean the swamp. We have a cabinet that's filled with billionaires and conflicts of interest. They're even saying now they were going to get rid of the lobbyists. Lobbyists who worked on a certain issue can now come to the administration, get a waiver to work on it, and it can be secret. What about health care? They said, President said, it'll cost less and you'll get more. His bill does exactly the opposite.
And dies.
Yeah. What about trade? This was an area where, you know, my views were closer to Donald Trump's than they were to George Bush's or Barack Obama's. They haven't called China currency manipulator. Now, they say they're not manipulating their currency.
No,
they are.
He did pull out a TPP. I mean, you supported that.
But that was happening anyway. We haven't had a single tough thing with China. I've talked to him about this.
But aren't you glad that China and America are working together on the North Korean issue? There has to be some linkage there, right?
Well, no, I have the opposite view. It's a bit contrarian. I think China just does what it wants until they're shown strength. Their mother's milk is the economy and trade and how they gain trillions of dollars by stealing our intellectual property, by dumping excess steel and aluminum. The way to get China to help on North Korea is be tougher with them on trade.
Have you and Donald Trump started speaking with each other more? I know you did at the beginning.
We are now. We talked as recently as Thursday.
Okay,
you know, and I talked to him about China. I told him this. I told him just what I told you. Let me just say.
How's your relationship?
How's
your relationship
I just
with
want
him?
to finish my. So on promise after promise, they're either broken completely to working people or unfulfilled.
What do you think about him personally? What's your relationship with him?
Well, you know, we've always had a relationship where I hope, you know, where we can talk to each other. But I have found there was a period where we talked, first thing. Then there was that name-calling period where he called me names and stuff. But now he's calling me on occasion.
Right.
I tell him what I think. The two areas I've stressed are two areas where there might be some agreement.
Does he sound like he's
trade
listening?
and infrastructure. He's mainly interested in talking about what he wants to talk about, but at least I've made these points, and we'll see what happens. But if the first 100 days is any indication, we're just headed to failure because the working people of America who thought Trump was going to help them have seen promise after promise broken or unfulfilled.
What's your line on that? Like Maxine Waters is done. Won't work with him. Will not do it.
I have always had an internal gyroscope, and I think my colleagues in the caucus do. Values. We are not going to oppose things because the name Trump is on it.
Right.
And if we can meet him and keep our values, we'll do it. But we're not going to just move way over. Right now, now, the president's idea of compromise is he never talks to us. He puts in a proposal and says, you support it, that makes it bipartisan. That's not how America's
but you'll
ever
deal with
worked.
him if he deals with you. You'll deal with him if he meets
Yes, and
halfway.
I've tried talking to him about China, and we sent him an infrastructure plan. This was an area everyone thought we would work on.
Yeah.
Democrats, the whole caucus, Bernie Sanders to Joe Manchin supported this proposal. Haven't heard a peep in 2 months.
For you to get something, for something to get done, sometimes it might involve a deal with you. So I'm just curious, do you trust this president on his word?
You know, what I want to say is that I'm always willing to talk to him, but it's got to be something where he actually listens and moves in a direction. I mean, he can't just assert what he wants
So is that a
and
no?
thinks I get it done.
Got to meet you halfway.
Yeah.
After he was elected, economic sentiment grew. Markets soared around the globe. It seems to be subduing now because people don't think he can get a lot of this done. You've mentioned trade and infrastructure as two areas that Democrats could work with him on. Number one, would you include taxes and tax reform in that bucket? And if so, what would it have to look like? And two, what is it? Do we get a health care change here in the coming weeks or coming months?
Let me answer both, Harold. Sure. On taxes, if the vast majority of his tax cuts are going to go to the very wealthy, he won't be able to work with us. That seems to be the direction they're headed in. Again, we want to help working people, middle-class people. The wealthy, God bless them. They make a lot of money. They create things. Good. Let them make money. But they don't need the help the way average middle class and working people need.
What about lowering corporate tax rate? Even Democrats say we need to be more competitive with. I say even Democrats. I mean, some Democratic economists will say we need to lower it.
We'd have to see a whole big plan. But I mean, look what he's doing now. Another broken promise. Inversions. He campaigned against jobs going overseas. One of the few things President Obama was able to do regulatorily was stop these inversions. He stopped Pfizer in its tracks. They're a New York company. Good. I'm glad they were stopped in their tracks. Now they say they want to explore undoing it. Exactly the opposite of what Donald Trump campaigned on. That is why the markets are losing faith in him, because he is not doing what he said he would do. He's breaking these promises. He seems to be in, you know, in a little bubble with some very, very wealthy people who have all kinds of ideas about. He's not talking to doing for the working people. He's still talking to them, but that's not going to work after another few months either. They're not going to believe him anymore.
Mark Halperin.
One of the highlights the first 100 days for your party was stopping the repeal of the Affordable Care Act and replacement with something you consider to be a bad law. But the current status quo is not great for what you believe in, right? A lot of people are going to lose coverage. The private market's going to be in distress. So what do you want to see happen as a practical matter to actually keep it
One,
in place,
CBO actually said the private markets are stabilizing, and they're a better judge than just about anybody else. But still, what we have always said is we don't think Obamacare is perfect. We think it needs changes. And we maintain our position. Drop repeal, which isn't going to work. They're going to be in the same pickle this time that they were the last time. And we'll work with you to improve ACA. That's been our position all along. It's another example of where Donald Trump said he was going to do one thing. Lower costs, better coverage, and is doing the opposite.
So let's be positive and figure out. Now, I'm not saying you're unduly negative, but let's.
I'm just trying to call the shots as I see them.
No, you're calling the shots, and we agree with you on a lot of things. As we move forward the next 100 days.
Yeah, how do you navigate?
What would be your advice to President Trump, a guy who's known you for a long time, a guy who's liked you, a guy who's even contributed to you?
Yeah.
You've got a history with this guy. You know him. What would you hope would the next 100 days would look like?
My advice to the president is start keeping some of your promises, particularly those to working people where Democrats could work with you. And it can't be my way or the highway. It can't be you do it my way or nothing. Just what he's doing now on the budget deal. Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan, Chuck Schumer, and Nancy Pelosi were working along just great. We're right on the path to getting something done. A good thing, that both parties could support, and he throws a monkey wrench in. Now, I understand it's understandable. He has his first 100 days. Health care hasn't worked out, so he's trying to do something with taxes, something with health care. Now there's this wall. That's not the way to govern. This wall is unthought out and doesn't work.
Got to go to Jana Heilman, but really quick question. Yesterday, Nancy Pelosi said, forget all the nonsense you're hearing. Yes, we want pro-life Catholics in our party, and if they run, we can support them. You certainly showed that in Pennsylvania, that a pro-life Catholic.
Oh, I got killed. I got criticized.
You got killed, but he's still the senator in Pennsylvania.
And
That's
a great
still
senator.
a vote
You bet.
your way.
Look, we're a big tent party, as Nancy Pelosi said, but we are, let's make no mistake about it, we're a pro-choice party. We're a strongly pro-choice party. We think that's where the American people are, and in fact, if anything, are moving even more in that direction.
But you
We're
welcome
a big tent party.
You welcome pro-life Catholics.
That's his answer,
even if they're
Joe.
running.
Big tent
Gave
party.
you my answer.
That's a yes.
John Heilman.
Senator, you've seen a lot of presidents in office of both parties. You know there's a steep learning curve when you first get in. Just assess what you've seen, if anything, from Donald Trump that suggests personal or political growth and learning over the course of this nearly 100 days.
Well, look, I'm not in the internal debates in the White House, John, so I can't tell you if he's modifying. Some days it seems he's learning a little bit, and then a day later he regresses. What we're having this week is, in my opinion, a regression. We must get health care done this week, even though there's no plan. We're going to have a great tax plan on Saturday. We'll blow up and shut down the government if we don't get the wall. That doesn't show too much learning, unfortunately.
What about the foreign policy team? John McCain, who's not been a friend of Donald Trump's, said it's one of the best foreign policy teams.
I have a lot of faith in both McMaster's and Mattis. I was happy to vote for Mattis, even though some people didn't like it. But will they be calling the shots? I don't know. I just don't know. It's too soon to tell. And there've been that thing with the ships. I'm getting a classified briefing and a Turkey call.
That's the bigger.
So that's right. How, after Erdogan, who is really going against all American values, against what Donald Trump even talked about, and you call him and congratulate him?
You can't imagine that team told him.
Well,
No way.
I got to tell you, I have a lot of faith in Mattis. Tillerson has yet to prove himself.
And a lot of faith in McMaster.
And a lot of faith in McMaster.
Senator Chuck Schumer, thank you very much.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.